all parts of the property and freely used the amusement park, the zoo, the arcade, and movie theater. The kids figured out the Neverland security codes and were admonished by the staff for breaking into Michael's wine cellar and consuming alcohol. Eventually, the Arvizos got too out of control, and Michael started to distance himself from them. By this point, they were charging thousands of dollars of luxuries on Michael's account. Jackson employees related at trial how the Arvizos also became rude to the staff and acted like they were entitled to Michael's wealth.
This family began to come up with these allegations of molestation and conspiracy only when they realized that they were on the way out, that Michael Jackson was sick of them, didn't want to deal with them anymore, didn't want them on his property.
It was at this point that the Arvizos consulted Larry Feldman, the same attorney that won the reported $20 million settlement from Michael Jackson to young Jordy Chandler in 1993. The Arvizos met with the attorney Larry Feldman, who earns a percentage of whatever his clients make. He sent them to the same psychologist he used for the Jordy Chandler case, and shortly thereafter, the psychologist and Feldman reported to the Santa Barbara District Attorney's Office that Gavin Arvizo claimed Michael Jackson had molested him on multiple occasions. It just so happens that the Santa Barbara District Attorney, Thomas Snedden, had been hoping for years to find somebody to level child molestation charges against Michael Jackson. Here's Snedden at the Neverland Sheriff's raid.
I'll just stay here. I just want to find out these here.
Mesereau was asked if he thought Snedden had a vendetta against Jackson.
Do I personally think he had a vendetta against him? I absolutely do. Why else would you devote all that time and energy to trying to convict one person? And one thing you didn't mention was that there was a website at the Sheriff's Department looking for any information on Michael Jackson, along with the trips overseas, along with 3 grand juries, 2 in Santa Barbara, 1 in Los Angeles. And this went on for, year after year after year. And the best they came up with was this case, which was shot full of holes.
It probably didn't help matters much that Michael followed up the '93 confrontation with Snedden by apparently criticizing him in this song.
What Snedden was really up to, and I felt he was a very vindictive person.
Were the sheriffs looking for the truth, or as some said, were their investigations just one-sided?
He's the bad person, not you. Okay? Your mom, you, your brother, and your sister are good people. And you're helping by coming here and talking to us. I want to re-emphasize to you that you guys are doing the right thing and you're going to help a lot of people.
In a sense, the district attorney's office became the Arvizos' new enablers.
You watch that video and you realize this man has jumped to a conclusion without any investigation at all. That itself showed bias on the part of law enforcement. I think if you also looked at his demeanor, you didn't see someone who was nervous or shy or upset about what he claimed had happened to him. We also proved this young man had gone to acting school, had taken acting lessons, that he wanted to be an actor and a comedian and a celebrity. And there were so many things that were disturbing about that tape. I really thought when it went into the jury room it would help us, but I know the prosecution thought it was going to be a bombshell in their favor.
When the Arvizos believed they had some success with their stories, they became even more bold with their accusations. They claimed Michael Jackson held them captive at Neverland. However, during the time they were supposedly held captive, trial records show that Janet Arvizo took regular trips on Michael's tab to local beauty salons for full body waxes and other amenities.
What she should have probably done, let's call the police. So there's all these phones in the area. We could go have access to any phone we want and call somebody to come and get us, call the Sheriff's Department. But instead she goes to Solvang, gets her legs waxed, and the kids are running all over the place, wrecking the vehicles that they were borrowing, just to drive around in.
The Arvizos also had Michael's driver chauffeur them around in Michael's Rolls Royce as they went on shopping trips and traveled back and forth between their East LA home and Neverland. As these images show, Neverland is hardly an inescapable fortress. In fact, there are no secure fences around the large estate, only these split-rail fences that can be easily breached. A magazine photographer even caught this shot of Gavin hopping a fence during the trial. Still, Janet Arvizo claimed at the trial that they considered escaping from Neverland in a hot air balloon.
They want to let us leave. Were you scared when you were there? What were you scared about?
The Arvizos claimed, along with the prosecution, that they were not only held prisoner, but they were also prevented from knowing the time. This too was hard to believe with the abundance of clocks on the premises that can be seen in this footage in my Neverland tour video. Finally, the cottage where the Arvizos resided while they were at Neverland would hardly be characterized as a dungeon. In fact, the family was staying in the most lavish guest cottage on the estate, the same one used by Liz Taylor and Marlon Brando, and the one Michael himself used after the raid of his bedroom, when he vowed he wouldn't go back into the bedroom since the sheriffs had defiled it.
Their room, a room that Marlon Brando had stayed in, a room that Elizabeth Taylor had stayed in, they defaced that, they tore it up, they wrecked the place.
Later, even after the facts and juror comments convinced me that the Arvizos were using Michael for financial gain, I still wondered about Michael's past accusers, thinking, where there's smoke, there must be fire. I wondered why Jackson would settle for a reported $20 million with Jordy Chandler in 1993 if he wasn't at least partially guilty. Here's Michael's answer to the same question posed to him by Martin Bashir.
The reason that's been given for why you didn't go to jail was because you reached a financial settlement with the family.
Yeah. I don't want to do a long, drawn-out thing on TV like OJ and all that stupid stuff. And it wouldn't look right. I just said, look, get this over with. I want to go on with my life. This is ridiculous. I've had enough. All that was false. Complete innocent guy. I would never do it. I would slip my wrist before I would hurt.
Jackson was certainly guilty of bad judgment in the 1993 settlement, but on top of it, he also later got a big OJ-style trial. Geraldine Hughes was working as a paralegal for the Chandler's attorney in 1993, and recently she came forward to say those charges were also fabricated.
The allegation of child molestation was manufactured. I was the legal secretary that worked for the attorney who represented the father of the 93 accuser, and I actually witnessed them set Michael Jackson up.
It turns out that Jordy Chandler's divorced parents were having a contentious custody battle over their son. The dad, a part-time screenwriter who had written Robin Hood, Men in Tights, had an axe to grind against Michael when he refused to fund his new $20 million film project and home remodel. Shortly thereafter, the dad reportedly concocted the molestation story and demanded $20 million to settle the case. More recently, the son filed charges against his father for physical abuse. Not only was it a poor idea for Jackson to settle with the Chandlers, it also set the stage for others to make similar claims, hoping they too might strike it rich. After paying close attention to the trial, I believe Michael was guilty, not of child molestation, but of childlike innocence and bad judgment.
Have you seen my childhood?
He thought the world would believe him at face value when he said there's nothing more loving than sharing your bed. Naive? Yes. Guilty of childlike innocence? Yes. Guilty of child molestation? No. And the jury agreed with me and found Michael Jackson not guilty of all charges.
He was not guilty of these allegations because he never did them. He never dreamed of doing them. The problem is that when you have the media sensationalize a trial through sound bites and innuendo and sensationalism, which is only geared to feather their own profit, not to tell the truth, you have damage that's done and it's hard to undo it.
The media may take advantage of you if you act childlike, but is it morally wrong? Here's Michael's case for the importance of childlike innocence.
You know, like the Bible says, and a child shall be leader of them all, you know? To be led by that kind of innocence. Didn't Jesus say, bring on the children? Behave like the children, you know? Not childish, but childlike. To have that kind of innocence. I think God outdid himself when he created children.
In fact, Jackson believes that it's important for him to maintain a childlike nature, not just to enjoy life, but to get to the source of his professional inspiration.
In everything I do, everything from the performance to the songwriting, to the choreographing, to the directing, everything that I do is inspired from the children.
Celebrating Michael's victory!
While Michael Jackson is inspired by the children, his fans are inspired by him. Following the not guilty verdicts, Michael Jackson fans celebrated around the world.